The corona global pandemic has been a big one. It has brought human faith to its ultimate test. I mean, we haven't faced such unprecedented crisis in over a century, and millions of people are out of jobs these days. We are on the brink of financial ruin. Mental health has been one of the biggest issues affecting not only the entrepreneurial committee, but all community, but also people who work day in and day out. So, this is probably, there's not been a single entrepreneur who hasn't been in mentally challenging situation in these times, whether it be margins, whether it be profits, whether it be managing employees, managing competition, how to deal with all of that. We have with us Raj Nayak, who's the chairman and founder of House of Cheers, and
So इतना बड़ा title मत दो.
who is also the ex-CEO of Colors. And of course, we are joined by Anurag Batra, who's the publisher and chairman of Business World magazine. Raj, nobody better than you to advise in these times. How should we deal with this crisis as far as the mental state is concerned? And we are especially addressing and talking to entrepreneurial community. So, what advice do you have for such people who are building their startups in these times?
See, I mean, one way to look at it is what is not in your control is not in your control. Okay, and it is easier said than done. Okay, but I've lived it all my life, and that's why I always say Raj cheerful, because the thought process is that it is a state of mind. It is for you to decide whether you want to be cheerful or you want to be sad. Nobody can change that for you. Having said that, if you're an entrepreneur in today's scenario, I think it is very stressful. It is very challenging because you don't know what the future holds in store, and this was not something that was expected. Something like this has never ever happened ever before. But I'm an optimistic, so I look at that the silver lining, and I believe that in every adversity there's an opportunity, and I think that will emerge moving forward. We will see that. It's just that you have to sit down and think, what is it that will happen post-corona? Because I think there's one before corona and there's one post-corona. But from an entrepreneur's point of view, it is very stressful. It's very scary for a lot of people. Okay, the youngsters who ones who are funded, they must have blown up their money, or the cash flows won't last for too long. I think cash flows is a big problem. And one of the things which has happened in the US or in the UK or many other countries, the government has come forward in terms of taking care of them. Nothing like that has happened in India. So one is, if you have a vision and you have a horizon of saying, this is what is going to happen 60 days from now, 30 days from now, you can still plan, you can still, but if you don't know what the future is, that is very scary. Having said that, my advice to everybody who's running a business is you have to be dispassionate. You have to be dispassionate and you have to be frugal. You have to be completely frugal in your approach. And I don't say this for entrepreneurs because there's this situation that has arisen. I think that should be the mantra for every entrepreneur when he starts a business. One of the things that have happened is people have got funded, they've gone and blown up their money. I think this will change that. At least in the future, I hope so. At least I hope I'm right. People will start thinking frugal when it comes to business. And I think cash is king today. And but mentally, if you're stressed, the way I would look at it is you have to keep telling yourself, this is not in my control. I cannot change things, but I can change the way how I behave to this situation, how I react to this situation. And you have to say, you have to be optimistic, you have to be positive, you have to say, this too shall pass and I'll come out a winner. And that's the only way to look at it. There is no other way.
Raji, on a lighter note, looks like you borrowed your wife's t-shirt. It says the real big boss.
Yeah, this was gifted to me by somebody at one time. So I just keep wearing it.
Because you're in your home and you can't claim to be the boss.
She is the real big boss, and I have no hesitation in admitting that.
Yeah. Now, coming from you, it is very, we know where you're coming from and we know that you mean it. But you say be dispassionate and frugal. And if you look at Raj Nayak over the last 20 odd years that I have known you, you bring passion to everything. You bring emotion.
Yeah.
And you, while you are business-like, but you put relationships first, you put passion first, you put human gumption first. So it's very difficult to be dispassionate. I understand you're saying, take this
When I
based
say
on reality.
dispassionate, I'm not saying sack your employees or things like that. When I'm saying dispassionate, I think it's like you're in a warlike situation, right? So you have to sit down and you have to take people who work with you into confidence and tell them this is a reality, this is the situation. See, one thing about leadership is you have to be transparent. Leadership is about trust. It's about being transparent. It's about carrying everybody along with you. And I think this is the period when that is even more important, where you show empathy, you show trust, there is transparency, and you carry your people with you. So you have to tell them, this is our situation, this is where the company is, this is what our horizon is looking at, this is what we have, and this is the best we can do. And the only expense everybody has today is probably their EMIs, which has got a moratorium, but I'm saying, but EMIs, food, but other luxuries, and there are no expenses. So you can say, okay, we need to take a haircut, we need to work within this budget, and when things turn out, we will compensate you. And I think if you're honest with your people, they will also understand. You have to cut corners. You cannot sit down and say, I will have a lavish office and I will do this. One of the things I think this whole last 20 days or 25 days has taught us is there are so many things we assume that we require, and we suddenly realize we don't really require it.
Yes.
We just, okay, you can do business like sitting at home today. I mean, as good as that, right? So a lot of things probably you will want to say, let me relook at it. If I had to start the business all over again today, bottom up, would I be doing the same mistakes? Or will I look at it differently? And that goes for you and that goes for me as well.
But Raj,
And Raji, you became. Yeah, go ahead, Abhinav. Go ahead.
But Raj, if I talk about the tangible assets, I mean, like, it's easy to say that, you should be frugal, you should be passionate. But, when we speak to young entrepreneurs, there are some real questions ahead of them. I mean, this is like an unprecedented crisis, and mental health is something where everybody is a virgin. I mean, you are dealing with something, an issue which you haven't faced before. How to cope up with your own mental health in this scenario? I mean, you can keep your employees motivated only when you are motivated yourself.
No, you have to see. One of the things in India people don't do enough is they don't seek help. Okay, they don't seek help. I think there are enough people who are willing to counsel and see what can a person at the other end do. I cannot tell you, I cannot come and fix your mental health, right? But if you speak to me, probably I can ask you questions which may help you arrive at some solutions, or may be able to look at things in a far more objective fashion. And I think if you seriously have a mental problem, when I say mental health problem, where you must seek help, you must speak to people. And once you speak to people, when you speak, people in India think it's something, there's a taboo around it, but that's not true. You must speak. But you have to keep telling yourself, you have to be positive, and you have to motivate yourself. How can you be a leader? How can you be an entrepreneur? First thing about entrepreneurship is you have that great ability to take risks. That's the biggest thing about an entrepreneur. You don't have the ability to take risks, don't become an entrepreneur. So forget Corona. If great entrepreneurs are those who have the ability to take risks, who have the conviction and the courage to go through rough weather. So you have to keep yourself that I've chosen to be an entrepreneur.